Okay, good. Nedarim girls, guys, it's unique. It's
Big bird.
No, that I've been here, but it's
nothing's changed. Nedarim, oh gosh.
You better tell the audience otherwise.
Nedarim, guys, Nedarim is unique. You think about a person has the capacity with their mouth to go ahead and create an issa. You can make the chair you're sitting onto as a double kaddish. You can make it also on you like a carbon. Just like a carbon's asabana, you have the capacity to make anything that's asabana. That's the capacity. Now there's basically two types of nedarim. Nidre, this is on that I put out there. Nidre hegdish and nidre isser. The pasuk for nidre hegdish is found in Parshas Kiseitze. Kisi the nedel Hashem. You make a neder to bring a carbon. Don't be delayed in bringing the carbon. We saw in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, the three have regalim in order, right? And whatever comes out of your mouth, you should keep. And whatever you do, you should neder Hashem. That's speaking about nidre hegdish. That's speaking where you're making a carbon. Harizu, hareolai, make a neder nedava. Amasechta is not speaking about that. That's kachim. That is totally kachim. Amasechta is speaking about the next column, Nigdre Isa. We're speaking about Matos, Pashas Matos, where it says, Ish kiyida nedel Hashem, or yishava shua lesser Isa al nafshay, lo yachol devaroi. If a person makes a neder or makes a shvua to make an Isra on himself, he should not profane it. Whatever he says, he should do. In other words, you can create a lav. You can create a lav. You can create an Issa deraisa. Through your mouth, you can create Issa deraisa. Right? Now, a neder is chal in one of three ways. That's the box. I boxed it. The ikka neder. That's you say the thing is asur on me. Then there's a kinoi where you use a lashon, like literally a nickname. We're going to see it's machloikis Rabbi Shlach Rabbi Yochanan Daf Yud. Whether it's a lashon that the implication is from the lashon you're making a neder. When you say a certain word, it's the same thing as asur. That word means the same thing as a neder. That word means the same thing as that. That's called a kinoi, like the kinoi of Hashem's name. The ikka name of Hashem is Yud Kei Vav Kei. Kinuyim is ad. Kinuyim he says Elikim, Kel. He said kinuyim. The ikka Shem Hashem is Adnus, Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the other ones are kinuyim of Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Literally a nickname, Kaviyachol. There's also something called a yad. You make a yad, and just like the Ran says, you pick up a kli. The yad picks up when you pick up the handle of the kli. It picks up the rest of the kli with it. Huadin by a neder. If you say the yad, the mashmois is that you're making a neder with that yad. Those are the three things. Ikka neder, kinui, and yad. And our first mission is going to describe kinuyim and yadais. Kinuyim and yadais. The difference between a neder and a shvua is an isser on the person. So let's say the chair you're sitting on, you could say, I'm usher to sit on that chair. That's an isser gavra. You're usher to sit on the chair. Neder is an isser what? It's in the chefza. It's an isser in the chair. Right? A neder, you can only go ahead and asa. You can asa, like what's in your rishus. You can asa, but you can't asa on anybody else. That chair may be asa to you. It's not not asa on anybody. No, if you own something, you can make an asa on everybody, right? If you don't own something, you can't. Okay. Basically, it's the one more thing that neder very often is done through ayidei hatfasa. This is asa to me like a carbon. Good. In other words, how did I make the Isser? By being makvis, going and manifesting what in a carbon. And saying in a carbon, I'm saying it's a lashon of atfasa. Good? I'm saying a lashon of atfasa. Yeah. So that you're makvis in has to be in itself asur al yedei neder. So if I would say the following, this piece of meat is asur upon me like chazer. That would not be a neder, because chazer is not asur because of you. The Torah asur you. This piece of meat is asa to me like a carbon. How did the carbon become asa? Through a neder, right? Nidrei hegdish. That is hatfasa. So those are things that recur throughout the Masechta. So our Masechta is speaking about nidrei isser. In addition, our Masechta there are no Rashis. The Rashi on the side of Masechta is not Rashi. The side of Masechta, in fact, is what it is I don't know what it is. It's a Rishon, but it's the main pirish is the pirish of Iran. It's the pirish of Iran. It's very lengthy. It's much easier than Rashi because he was a later Rishon. He lived much later than Rashi, Rabbeinu Nissim, and therefore it's much more expressive. For a Maggid Shir, it's a nightmare because I have to learn the whole thing. And I'm saying to give it over. So to give over the Shir is going to be, we're going to do some runs inside simply because very often the blot are very small because of the run, and instead of having a share for 10 or 15 minutes, and guys say, why should I show up? I'll watch it on the recording. I want to, because Torah is important in all our lives, and I want you to come and be committed. So we will be saying the Rans, and I'll say it, try not to be too painful. For those of us who suffer in yeshiva looking inside, we will do the best we can. But a dog just eat itself, have a Franken blanket. Good. Now have a Franken blanket, and you can vote. Right. You have to be registered to vote. Boom.
Associate members can vote.
Hit him.
Got him.
Got him. Give him to him. Give him a zing.
Zing.
Associate members.
Associate member. Anyway, so yeah. Now, guys, also very important. Nedarim, the lashon of Nedarim is mishuna. The lashon of Nedarim is really, really different. It's really mishuna. The lashon of it, meaning it. I'll point out to you along the way where questions asked, and I'll show you normal Bavli how we ask the same question, but the lashon is totally different. So I spoke to Rabbi Raps upstairs yesterday. I said, why is that? I saw a rush. It says lashon mishuna. Tais is a lashon mishuna. So I asked him. I said, why do you? Because he quoted it Feres Yisrael in Masech Erchin that said Ravina and Ravashi did not have a chance to go over and edit it. So certain Masechtas they didn't edit well, and this is one of them. Now I'm feeling a lot of pressure. I think let's start the Gemara. I'm not going to do a great job, and I'll make it up to you. Okay, let's go. Says the Mishnah, Kol kinuyim nedarim nedarim. All kinuyim of nedarim are like nedarim. In other words, as we said, what kinuy is a neder is like nedarim. Haram haram, the lashon of chayrim. If you put something in chayrim, now stam chayrim is lebedik abayis or the koyin. We go to our favorite koyin sitting in front of me, or somebody else. But we're not speaking about that. We're speaking about you saying something's us to you like chayrim. In other words, nidre yisn, nothing to do with hegdish. Shvuas keshuas. So any kina of a neder, any kina of a chayrim, any kina of shvuas will be like a shvua. Naziris can naziris, guys. Ish ki yachli linda neder nazla Hashem pashas nasai. If a person expresses a neder to be a nazir, that's a form of a neder. You're going to become a nazir. Wine's going to become asa to you. To you. Someone says to his friend, Mujrani mincha. I am mudar from you. I'm separate from you. Mefashani mincha, merachakni mincha. I'm distant from you. And then you add, man am I adding? Shani oichelcha. In other words, that I eat from you is mudar from you. That I eat from you is mufresh from you, separate from you. That I eat from you is merachakni, is distant from you. Right? Asr, that would be an asr. A neder. Now, interestingly enough, guys, that's not a kinoi. That's a yad. That's what we're going to see. In other words, with being toifis, it's a yad. The Gemara is going to ask, you begin with saying the Masechta with kinoi, and then you jump into the yadais. We'll see in a second. I'm menuda from you. Choichik guys, lashon like this. Like menuda can mean one of two things. You're in chayrim or it's asa. So he said, like, I'll be machmir and say it's asa. Okay. This is my best impression of an 8-minute daf, but less. Says call me Baruch Stern. Anyway, says the Mishnah. Says the Gemara. Kol kinu nedarim. Guys, now if you have a regular Gemara, I'm sure you don't because it's probably a Vatsko. If you'll go ahead and you have a regular Gemara, you turn to Masechta Nazir, and you have the beginning of Masechta that begins exactly the same way, with one exception. You go to the beginning of Masechta Nazir, it says the following: Kol kinu naziris k'naziris. And then right away it goes in to explain Naziris. But we have Nedarim, Karamim, Shvuis, Nazir. Says what's the difference? Kol kinu nedarim. My shna gabi Nazir the loikatani lahu lakula. Well, my shnani gabi nedarim the tani lakula. By nedarim we went through Karamim and Shvuis. By Nazir we just said Nazir. And for the Gemara, Mishum the nedu Shvuis gabi adadi. Ishki the neder. Since the pasuk of Neder and Shua are written in the same pasuk in Parshas Matos, so we learned the Tani Tati. We learned them together. Now, the keeping the Tani Tati, Tani Lakula. Once we brought in two, we brought in the kitchen sink. In other words, normally once you would have said one, but since Shua is in the same pasuk as Nedarim, so I brought both in. Right? Since it's the same pasuk as Nedarim, so I went ahead and I brought both in. That's what I'm saying. I brought both in. And no, I brought them in the same. Now, once you brought more than one and two, I'll bring in Charamim, I'll bring in the Naziris, I'll bring in everything. The Kivin, the Tani Tati, Tani Kula. The listed Kina Shuas, right? Busting the Dorim. So guys, let's go through the order, right? What's the order? If you're telling me that the whole reason you brought Shuas in is because it's in the same pasuk as Nedarim. So we should say Kol Kinui Nedarim and Nedarim Shvuas Keshvuas. Why do we stick Charamim in the middle? Of Shvuas and Nedarim, right? In order, that's the way it should be. And for the Gemara, I did Tani Nedarim. the mitzvah chefza leha. Taninami charamim the mitzvah chefza leha. We went ahead and we want to define it or identify it as one type of isser. Shvuas, as we spoke out, is an isser on the person. Ned is an isser on the object. Charamim is an isser on the object. This thing is serim. So in Mela, since the works, the machinations of the Neda and Charamim works synonymously, so therefore we put them together. You ask yourself from the Chayfetz. You begin with Kol Nedarim, and then what do you say? Yadais. Those are all Yadais. Guys, these are all Yadais. So if you began with Nedarim, why are you explaining Yadais? Visu, here's the first time in the Masechta you're going to have the lesson of Mishuna. Visu, Yodais Inshi, Yodais you forgot. So look at the rush, guys. You have the rush. If you have the art scroll, it's on the left side, and it says Yodais Inshi. If you have the old Gemara, it's the first white line in the bottom. If you have it's the first line on the bottom. There's no way I can use this. I didn't go yet. I'm saying share, okay? Ruthie doesn't have a phone. I'll let you know if she's going home tonight, Ma. Okay. Okay. Anyway, Visu Yodais in Shi Kloimar Shokach Hatana Milishenoisan Beresha. Did the Tana go ahead and forget to learn it first? The keeping the Porish Lumas Nisan. Since we explained Yodais in the Mishnah, Hayolishenoisan Beresha. We should have gone ahead, Rod, and learned Kinuyim first. We should learn Kinuyim. And Yadais, you get that. So V'layma shehem kinedarim, and you should say that Yadais are like Nedarim. The kivim bezeh, the kiyaytze bezeh, similar to this. The shar duchte in other places. Lishna the shas. I'm saying share. Lishna the shas Yadais man the kashmayu. In other words, you would have normally said Yadais. Who's mentioning Yadais? You go ahead and say Mudra nimucham of shanrecha. You said Yadais. Mind the question, who mentioned Yadais that you're explaining Yadais? We've had this quite a few times. So says the Rosh, guys, what do you say? You have to include that the Lashon Nedarim is what is Mishuna. It's different. So we have two kashas. One, right? Two kashas. You begin with Kinuyim and then you explain Yadais. And secondly, how do you know there's such a thing called a Yad to explain it? How do you know there's such a thing called a Yad to explain it? So the Gemara answers, says my Iribu. We talk about speaking about Yadash. The Mishnah is missing words. Here's what we have to learn. Kol kinuyim nedarim kinedarim v'yadis nedarim. There it is, guys. Stick in the word yad. Kol kinuyim nedarim v'yadis nedarim kinedarim. Right, and therefore, what you can stick in yad. Okay. Now the question is, you should explain kini first, and we'll pick this up tomorrow. Okay. I'm sorry for cutting short. I just.